from Minnesota Public Radio.
This Prairie Home Companion program was first broadcast June 28, 1997, from Chateau Saint Michel Winery Amphitheater in Woodinville, Washington.
Oh, hear that old piano from down the avenue. I smell the vineyard, I look around for you. My sweet old someone coming through that door. It's Saturday and the band is playing. Honey, could we ask for more? Coming to you live out on the grass here at the Chateau Saint Michel Winery near Seattle, Washington, a little bit north of the big city. Under a sunny but cloudy sky, Minnesota Public Radio presents a live broadcast of a Prairie Home Companion. With our guests, the Hopeful Gospel Quartet, Robin and Linda Williams, Kate McKenzie with us today. A beautiful slide guitarist named Kelly Joe Phelps, and the fine Tudor Choir is here to tell the story of the Pine Tree Brethren of Minnesota and how they became the Olympic Brethren of Seattle, Washington. Sue Scott, Tim Russell, and Peggy O'Connell on our acting cast today. Our sound effects man is Tom Keefe. Rich Dworsky and the fine Guys All-Star Shoe Band back here. A Prairie Home Companion made possible tonight by Land's End Direct Merchants, where everything you buy, from soft luggage to fine casual clothing, is guaranteed, period. It's good to be with you outdoors under a sunny and cloudy sky here in Seattle, Washington. So good to be here, and I'm so glad to finally get up on stage and do the show, because it means that I don't need to talk to my friends from Minnesota who've moved out to Seattle and who have been talking to me for hours about what a wonderful place this is and what a beautiful place it is and how happy they are here and what beautiful people they are living here in this happy place. It's like listening to your parents when they talk to you about the beautiful girl in your high school class, and who was accomplished, and who was a wonderful musician, and who was a straight-A student, and who was beautiful on top of it, and what a sweet personality she had. And all of their sales pitch on behalf of Michelle only made you love Sharon more, the plain girl with the large legs. That's Minnesota, plain girl, and but it's great to be here in this land of Eddie Bauer and Nordstrom's and the wineries and the lifestyle and the intelligent people, tasteful, polite, good, and productive, and wonderful people in every way, beautiful people.
Yes.
In every way possible. So that you can understand why the grunge bands came out of Seattle. It was a protest against all of this tastefulness, you know? The Beatles said, all you need is love, and the grunge people just said, So, anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to sing you a little gospel music and bring up our Hopeful Gospel Quartet. Kate McKenzie, lead us off here.
All right. Well, I said I wasn't gonna tell nobody, but I
couldn't keep it to myself.
No, I
couldn't keep it to myself.
Oh, no. I said I wasn't gonna tell nobody, but I
couldn't keep it to myself.
What the Lord has done for me. You ought to been there.
You ought to been there.
He saved my soul.
When he saved my soul.
That Sunday morning. When he put my name on the roll.
Started walking.
Said I.
Started talking.
Said I.
Started singing.
Said I.
Started shouting.
Oh, what the Lord has done for me. Well, I said I wasn't gonna jump for joy, but I
couldn't keep it to myself.
Oh, no, jump for joy, but
I
I
couldn't keep it to myself.
what the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there
Ought to been there
when He saved my soul.
when He saved my soul.
That Sunday morning
Sunday morning,
when He put my name on the roll. I said
started talking,
said
started singing,
said
started shouting.
oh, what the Lord has done for me.
That's Richie.
Well, I said I wasn't gonna testify, but I
Couldn't keep it to myself.
oh no,
To myself.
no. I said I was gonna testify, but I
Couldn't keep it to myself.
what the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there
You ought to been
when He
there
saved my soul.
when He saved my soul.
That Sunday morning
That Sunday morning,
when He put my name on the roll. I said
started talking,
said
started singing,
said
started shouting.
oh, what the Lord has done for me.
Started walking,
Oh yeah.
started talking,
Oh, yeah.
I started singing,
Oh, yeah.
I started shouting.
Oh, what the Lord, and I said,
What the Lord
oh,
has
I said, what the Lord has done for me.
Kate McKenzie, I just couldn't keep it to myself. Our show coming to you from Seattle. Yes, coming to you from the beautiful Puget Sound area here of the Northwest. This portion of our show is brought to you by MicroLife, software for life as it's lived today. It was Bill Gates who said in an interview, just in terms of allocation of time resources, religion is not very efficient. There's a lot more I could be doing on a Sunday morning. And that's why LOL, Lutherans Online, tries to bring you a Sunday morning worship matrix that maximizes religious benefits per unit of time expended.
Yeah, LOL is just super fun and super cool, you know, totally neat. And it's got things you don't get in church like multitasking, parallel processing, and sequence data, so you can make your own game plan and prioritize your worship strategies.
Yeah. Bob and I used to attend a church, but it was just so pokey. And we realized that, hey, some people meditate faster than others, so why should we all have to go at their speed?
Yeah, with Lutherans Online, you know, you can scroll through the whole service and take what you need.
Yeah.
Here's the prelude, something by J.S. Bach.
No, boring. Beep.
Delete, Confession of Sins.
Now click on forgiveness.
Right. Announcements?
Nah.
Old Testament reading?
What's it from?
I don't know, Deuteronomy or something.
Oh, never heard of it.
New Testament?
What's that about?
Sanctification by
Yeah,
grace.
been there, done that.
Gospel?
Save that for later.
Sermon?
Are you kidding?
Offering?
Give him $5.
Communion. Now there's the wine icon, see? And the wafer? And the benediction.
Go in peace.
All done.
Cool.
Lutherans Online, it's a win-win situation there.
No-brainer.
Yeah. Digital worship, available 24 hours a day. Worship when you want for as long as you want.
Neat.
Yes, from MicroLife, also makers of microsex programs.
You know, just in terms of allocation of time resources, sex is not very efficient. Yeah, there's a lot more I could be doing on a Friday evening.
That's right, Bill, from MicroLife.
Software for life as it's lived today.
That's right, MicroLife software. And now for MicroLife software, Kate McKenzie and the Hopeful Gospel Quartet, and this old hymn, the 90 and 9.
There were 99 that safely lay in the shelter of the fold, but one was was lost on the hills astray, far off from the gates of gold. Away on the mountains wild and bare, away from the tender shepherd's care, away from the tender shepherd's care. Lord, thou hast here thy 99, are they not enough for thee? But the shepherd made answer, 'tis this of mine has wandered away from me. Although the road be rough and steep, I go to the desert to find my sheep. I go to the desert to find my sheep. But none of the ransomed ever knew how deep were the waters crossed, how dark was the night that the Lord passed through, ere he found his sheep that was lost. Out in the desert he heard its cry, sick and helpless and ready to die. Sick and helpless and ready to die. Then all through the mountains thunder riven, and up from the rocky steep there arose a glad cry to the gates of heaven, rejoice, I found my sheep. And the angels echoed around the throne, rejoice, for the Lord brings back his own. Rejoice, for the Lord brings back his own.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hopeful Gospel Quartet. Looking up at the mountains as we sing that song, seeing if there are any sheep or other livestock headed down the rocky slopes towards here. There are mountains on both sides of us. Mountains really define the geography of Washington State. There are the Olympic Mountains off to the west of us, but the coastal ranges, the defining range, the Cascade Mountains. On the west side, you have the Douglas fir, you have the rain clouds, the rhododendrons, the computers, and the Democrats. And east of the Cascades, you have the wheat and the apple orchards, the soybeans, and the Republicans. The wine comes from the grapes that are over on the Republican side. There's less rainfall over there on the eastern slope of the Cascades, and that's where the grapes for the Chateau Saint Michel winery are raised. This is the winery here where we are in Woodinville. There was some researchers from Washington State University at Pullman back in the 50s who brought some vines that had been grafted from European ones, and they planted them in the Columbia Valley on the east side of the Cascades, an area that gets, as I say, about 8 inches of rain per year, and considered superior to many regions of California and France, because the grapes that get up to 17 hours of sunlight in June. That is per day in June. That's not in the month of June. So this is an important part of the country to all of you in the Brie and Chablis generation out there. The Indians were an important part of the legacy of the Puget Sound Basin. They left behind the tradition of the potlatch, the feast that can go on for weeks, and they also left the legacy of hundreds of difficult-to-pronounce place names that enable Seattleites to instantly identify Californians. Doesn't matter if your clothes come from Eddie Bauer and you're wearing a red plaid shirt and jeans and boat shoes, but if you can't say Concanali, and if you say Puyallup instead of Puyallup, and if you get Skokomish mixed up with Skykomish or Snohomish or Swinomish, it doesn't matter what your driver's license says, you're not from here, really. So it's the home of the sweet Dungeness crab and the Penn Cove mussels and the Olympia oysters and the great clams, whose names I do not know how to pronounce. How do you pronounce those? What? Oh, the gooey duck, of course. The gooey duck. The teams of which college? Evergreen State College are known as the Fighting Gooey Ducks. Mount Rainier is not far from here. I don't think I've seen it, but people say that they have, so I assume it must be here. There are children who reach puberty before they ever see Mount Rainier. And perhaps it is a sign of puberty, I don't know. Children who reach puberty before they ever get completely dry here. If Seattleites came in out of the rain, they'd never go anyplace. It's just only the shut-ins who are really dry here. This, of course, is home to the Starbuck Revolution, which is a movement in America to see how much the American people are willing to pay for a cup of coffee. It was the Starbuck Revolution that really led to the Republican Revolution, because people need tax cuts to be able to manage to get the cups of coffee that they need. For us, however, the real spiritual center of Seattle is the settlement of Ballard, which is the Norwegian neighborhood. It's the only ghetto in America with hydrangeas, the flower of choice among monogamous people. There are some wine drinkers up on the hill in Ballard, but they pronounce it Ballard, of course, and down at the bottom of the hill called Halibut Flats, that's where the real Norwegians, the beer drinkers, live, who have bumper stickers that say, "Visualize Ballard," down where sushi is known as bait. Down where they make cappuccino with buttermilk down there in Ballard. Well, just remember that if you are Norwegian, lutefisk can be eaten with either a white or a red wine. Either one will work just fine. You know, I know I shouldn't be talking about me and my problems on this show, but it does get a little depressing to get to my age and realize that probably this is about as smart as I am ever going to get. This smart or not quite this smart. And that probably it's a little late in life for me to be mastering the French language. Probably too late even to be learning Swedish. Probably I'll never qualify for fly a jet airplane or ride thoroughbred jumpers to victory at a horse show. Or be a regular on the McLaughlin Report.
Stupid idiot.
Probably I'll just go on doing as I do now, which is brain surgery is my hobby. I've always been interested in the brain, and with the recent changes in healthcare aimed at controlling costs, they've opened up the field of brain surgery to a lot of us outside of medicine. And, well, I've just been lucky enough to be the low bidder on a number of operations. How we doing there?
Real good.
He looks asleep, doesn't he?
Looks asleep to me, yeah.
Sleepy, anyway.
Yeah.
I guess we'll know in a moment.
I
here.
guess, yeah.
Okay. Say, when it says right side of the brain, does it mean our right or his right?
His right,
His
I think.
right.
Yeah, his right.
You know, I think you're right. Okay.
Right.
Well, we'll go in. We'll check that out.
Whoa, look at that.
Whoa. Boy, there's a lot of loose gunk in there. Isn't there? Oh. Give me that vacuum. Now, would you?
Vacuum, there you go.
See if you can't get that stuff out of there. That's not doing him any good.
There you go.
Boy, how old is this guy anyway?
This guy?
Yeah, the one we're operating on. It is a
50
guy, isn't it?
It is a...
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, it is a guy. 54. 54.
No wonder, boy. A lot of junk in there. Trivia and stuff.
Yeah.
Little fragments of songs and parts of jokes and a lot of useless things. Give me that water pick.
There you go.
Okay, thanks. That ought to help him out there.
Say, what does this guy do for a living anyway?
I have no idea. Let's find out.
Okay.
Just put the electrolode right there.
Electrolode right
Yeah,
there?
Right there.
Okay.
So, if you value the programming you hear on the station, won't you call now?
Hey, he's one of us.
Oh, radio guy!
He's a radio guy.
Yeah.
Jeez, I wonder if my brain looks like that too.
You want me to take a look?
No.
Okay.
No thanks. Boy, there's not a lot of unused brain capacity in there, is there? If that guy got computerized shoes, I'm not sure he'd be able to tie his laces. But you know, there's a bright side to everything. Ignorance can be blissful. Look at Republicans. I mean, they have a lot more fun than Democrats. Isn't that obvious? Happy people compared to liberals, they are.
Excuse me.
Huh?
Were you talking about me?
No, I don't think so.
You weren't?
Well, I don't think so.
Don't think so. What does that mean? All right, tell me something, okay?
Yeah?
Truth, promise?
Sure, what is it?
You tell me the truth?
Yeah, I'd try to.
Try?
Well, of course.
Okay, tell me this. Am I neurotic?
You, neurotic?
Yeah, am I neurotic? Do people think I am? I know, do people say, God, she's neurotic? Do they? She's one of those neurotic liberals. Is that what they say? Huh?
No, not really.
Not really. That means I am, doesn't it?
No.
I'm incredibly neurotic, aren't
No,
I?
I don't think so.
And I bug you, don't I?
No, not that much.
No, I do, though, don't I?
Well, maybe a little
No,
sometimes.
more than a little. I bug you a lot, don't I? I know I do, don't I?
Okay, you do. A lot.
Okay.
Would you like brain surgery?
Will it hurt? It's going to hurt, isn't it?
Yeah, but just for a moment. There. Now it won't hurt anymore. So how we doing there?
No, looks good. Looks good.
She's asleep, isn't she?
Looks asleep to me.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's go in. Drill. Is neurosis on the left or on the right side?
I think it's in the center, isn't it?
Okay, well, let's try the center. We'll see. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Look at that.
That's neurosis coming out of there.
Ooh.
Oh. All that gray stuff. A lot of it in there. Look at that. Vacuum.
Vacuum.
Vacuum. Get her cleaned out a little bit in there.
Looks good.
Okay. Electrolode.
Electrolode.
Okay. Touch it right there.
Right here?
Yeah, right there.
Volunteer standing by to take your call, so why not take a minute?
Yeah, she's fine. She can get work now. Okay, just screw the top of her head back on there.
Okay.
No, clockwise.
Oh.
Clockwise.
Oh, well.
There you go. Good.
Yeah.
You want me to do you?
No, I'm fine. No. You need anything?
No. I'm okay. Not too bright, but you know, I'm okay. Mr. Pat Donahue and Tracy Silverman, violin, and the West Coast Blues. Greg Hippen on the bass, Arnie Kinsella on the drums. I want to bring up this fine choir. It's from the Seattle area, a choir that has the right idea, and that is when you do opposite things, things that are completely opposite from each other, it can only improve both of them. Take a moment, think that over. Write it down in a notebook if you'd like. The choir is called the Tudor Choir, and as the name suggests, they specialize in English church music, but they also have a soft spot for shape note hymns, for American hymnology of the singing schools of the 18th and 19th centuries. And they're coming out soon with their first CD devoted to shape note music. Listen to this now. This is a shape note hymn called Eternal Day. Here's the Tudor Choir. Doug Fullington is the director. La, 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 sol, la, sol, la, sol, la, fa, si, la, sol, la, sol, la, 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 mi, fa, la, la, sol, la, sol, la, 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 sol, la, sol, mi, la, sol, la, sol, la, fa, la, la, fa, mi, la, la, sol, la, mi, sol, la, 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 sol, la, 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 sol, 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 la, mi, la, sol, la, mi, la, sol, la, sol, la, la, mi, la, sol, la, fa, la, sol, la, sol, la, la, fa, mi, la, fa, sol, la, mi, sol, la, 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 sol, la, 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 sol, 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 la, mi, la, sol, la, mi, la, sol, la, sol, la, la, mi, la, sol, la, sol, la, sol, la, sol, la. Oh, what of all my sufferings here, if Lord thou canst me meet with that enraptured, with that enraptured, and worship at thy feet. Give joy or grief, give joy or grief, give ease or pain. Take life or friends away, but let me find them again in that eternal day. Give joy or grief, give joy or grief, give ease or pain. Take life or friends away, but let me find them again in that eternal day. Oh, what hath Jesus brought for me before my ravished eyes? Rivers of life, rivers of life, rivers I see, and trees of paradise. I see a world of spirits bright, who taste of pleasures there. They all are in spotless wine, and conquering palms they bear. I see a world of spirits bright, who taste of pleasures there. They all are in spotless wine, and conquering palms they bear. The Tudor Choir. They're going to come back and sing some more later in this hour. We're going to tell the story of the Pine Tree Brethren and let you hear some more of this music. This is church music with an edge on it that precedes the Victorians, who smoothed everything off and kind of made it flow together like syrup. This is the pre-syrup stage of hymnology. These are the hymns of people who saw visions regularly. Angels came and brought these people tablets who sang that music originally. You're listening to a Prairie Home Companion coming to you from the Chateau Saint Michel Winery in Seattle, Washington. This portion of our show brought to you by Powdermilk biscuits. Heavens, they're tasty and expeditious, made from whole wheat raised by Norwegian bachelor farmers, so you know they're not only good for you, they're also pure, mostly. Give shy persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done.
Has your family tried a Powdermilk? Well, has your family tried a Powdermilk? Well, if your family's tried them all, you know you satisfied them.
Powdermilk biscuits made from the whole wheat that give shy persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done. Kelly Joe Phelps was on our show back in Minnesota, the plain, humble state of Minnesota, months ago. In fact, you were there during the winter, weren't you? Didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it was very cold.
It was very cold, wasn't it? And wasn't it exciting? It was thrilling.
Incredibly exciting, it was.
Yes, well, you look excited, and I'm glad that you were. Somehow, a day like today just... I just zone out on a day like today. But winter, those days when the high is 5 below zero, boy, you come awake, don't you? Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it later. Kelly Joe Phelps grew up in the state of Washington and in a town called Sumner, I believe. Not too far from here. Fooled around with music and learned various instruments, and then came across the work of Mississippi Fred McDowell, the great blues man, and his slide guitar, and that was what set him on his path of learning the blues. He makes his home in Vancouver, Washington, just across the Columbia River from Portland. So please, won't you welcome here, Mr. Kelly Joe Phelps.
Yeah, I've been looking for my home. Looking for my home. Yeah, I've been looking for my home. I can't find it nowhere. But lead me on, oh, lead me on, lead me on. Yeah, I've been a-drifting here and there. Drifting here and there, I need a guide to show me. Drifting here, I need a guide to show me the way. Yeah, now lead me on, lead me on, lead me on. Oh, my heart, and don't stop aching. I won't live to see the sun. Fill my heart and don't stop aching. I won't live to see the sun. Yeah, my heart and don't stop aching. I won't live to see the sun. Now lead me on, lead me on. Come on, lead me on. I don't lead me on. Come on, lead me on. Oh, lead me on. Yeah, now lead me on. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna carry my burden over the mountain down to the sea. Carry my burden over the mountain and down to the sea. Carry my burden over the mountain and down to the sea. Lead me on, come on, lead me on. Lead me on. Come on, 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 lead me on. Oh, Thank you all very much. Thank you. Yeah. It sure is good to be home here, you know. It's nice to see all you people. I miss this place. And, well, you know, that's how that works. That was called Lead Me On. That's off a record I put out about 3 years ago, and I've got a new one coming out the end of the summer, last week of August. And this song, Sail the Jordan, is going to be on that new record, so y'all stay tuned. Well, in trouble, getting hard to bear. You'll not know better out than a terror there. You hit on a boat, but I sail away to get on a boat. Love, sail away. Got no nothing deeper, getting deeper. Oh, my mother sure feels the pain. Knowing her child, knowing her child is sure gonna feel the same. Nothing getting on board. You didn't sail away. Yeah, sail away. Yeah, I'm through all my cares. It is ashes away. Throw all my care. Oh, there's ashes away. Yeah, I can hear my old woman. Little, she got too much to say. Get on it, boat, yeah. Get on the same way, yeah. I'm going over Jordan. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in on that and drown and drown. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah away, but I ain't jumping in there. Oh, I sang for my daughter. Ah, the world is her own. If I only pray that she won't fight it alone. I pray she won't fight it alone. I'm gonna take her with me. I'm gonna take her with me. Oh, we're gonna sail away. We're gonna sail away.
Thank you all very much.
Mr. Kelly Joe Phelps and his slide guitar. Sign that young man up from Vancouver, Washington. The Tudor choir is going to come back in a little bit, and we'll tell the story of the Pine Tree Brethren and how they made their way from Minnesota out to Seattle. This was years ago when you were just little children. No reason you should remember it. First, we want to bring up our radio repertory company here and do you the latest installment in a series of... He's cool and he's smooth. He's quick with a gun, a master in the boudoir, a guy in a trench coat who gets the job done, Guy Noir.
A dark night in a city that knows how to keep its secrets, but high above the busy streets, on the 12th floor of the Acme building, one man is still trying to find the answers to life's persistent questions. Guy Noir, Private Eye.
It was one of those sweltering days in June when the air smells of hot asphalt and burning hamburgers, when my air conditioner was having a nervous breakdown. And when suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Yeah, come on in, the door's unlocked.
I'm Stacy Statler from Seattle, Mr. Noir, and
Yes?
I need your help. I'm looking for a statistician named Sandy Daniels involved in a scandal in rural Seattle involving my friend, the contralto Sally Tuttle Tate.
I see. Interesting. Seattle. Sandy Daniels, huh? She's a Seattle statistician?
Right. She wears saddle shoes and coral-colored apparel, and she's involved in the scandal.
What, a financial scandal?
No, homicide. Deadly cinnamon cyanide was sprinkled on a cup of extra-strong espresso at a rehearsal for a Respighi recital.
A Respighi recital in Seattle?
A Respighi recital by the Seattle contralto Sally Tuttle Tate.
Yes.
A benefit for the non-profit Seattle Gastrointestinal Hospital. The rehearsal was in Sally Tuttle Tate's studio in rural Seattle.
This is becoming clearer every moment. And this was a single sprinkle of cinnamon cyanide?
Yes, and Sally Tuttle Tate's eminently talented accompanist, Basil Bristol Bainbridge,
Of course.
was the victim of the cinnamon cyanide sprinkle.
I see.
One swallow and he was horizontal.
So this statistician, Sandy Daniels, was at the rehearsal for this benefit recital for the nonprofit Seattle Gastrointestinal Hospital.
She and her spaniel, Emmanuel.
Uh-huh.
And her little sister, Crystal, a vocalist from Pistol City, Mississippi.
Crystal Daniels and the spaniel, and Sandy Daniels, the statistician.
A statistician for the Washington State Central Statistical Clearinghouse in Seattle.
I see.
You see, Sandy Daniels' sister, Crystal, was a constant companion of Basil Bristol Bainbridge.
Sally Tuttle Tate's eminently talented piano accompanist.
Exactly.
in other words. Yes. Yes, who's there? Come in. Hello?
Crystal!
Wrong, Stacy. I'm Crystal's twin sister, Cecilia Shelby Slivovich.
From Pistol City, Mississippi?
Now, how did you know?
Well, Stacy told me.
What else did she tell you?
She told me that you and your sisters Crystal and Sandy Daniels were at contralto Sally Tuttle Tate's rural Seattle studio for a Respighi recital rehearsal, and that Miss Tate's accompanist, Basil Bristol Bainbridge, was assassinated by a cinnamon cyanide sprinkle on an extra strong espresso, right?
Exactly.
I see, but why?
And
Why?
Stacy.
What? What are you talking about?
Her real name isn't Stacy, it's Sadie. Sadie Tuttle Tate, Sally's stepsister from San Luis Obispo.
I see.
Sadie and Basil Bristol Bainbridge were buddies, and Sadie Tuttle Tate and my sister, Crystal Daniels, were hostile since Basil sought the dismissal of Crystal's cousin Custer from the gastrointestinal hospital because he was an apostle of the Pentecostalist pastor Peter Metropolis of Palo Alto.
I I had no idea there were Pentecostalists in Palo Alto.
He was a transcendental Pentecostalist.
Peter Metropolis, huh?
Crystal's
Transcendental.
cousin Custer told Metropolis his Pentecostals had to shape up or ship out.
Well, we're here to get to the bottom of it. Would either of you care for coffee? Sadie, Cecilia?
I'd like a triple skinny Siamese pygmy height weight proportional with a hazel razzle, 2% milk, an artery block, and hold the bath beads.
Okay, I see. And Cecilia?
Oh, just water.
Just water, lime, lemon?
Just water and a plate of anemones.
Okay, excuse me just a moment.
Yeah.
Is this Chuck's Coffee Shop?
Yeah.
I'd like a, what was that? What was that you wanted? Tell the man what you wanted.
Oh, okay. I'd like a triple skinny Siamese pygmy height weight proportional with a hazel razzle, 2% milk, an artery block, and hold the bath beads.
Okay, gotcha.
Did you get that, sir?
Got it. Anything else?
And a water, plain water, and a plate of anemones.
Anemones, fine. Now, what kind of water?
Just mineral water.
Charged or non-charged?
Well, uncharged. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
we got Prairie, Pellegrino, San Marino, Gino, Bonagiano, Stockholm Springs, Our Lady of Lourdes, got Antarctic Ice Cap, got Rainforest, got 85 other kinds of
Just
water.
whatever's close at hand. Just
And
make
Arctic-
it easy on yourself.
Antarctic Iceberg, okay?
Antarctic iceberg. Yeah, sure. How much is that?
$50 for 8
Whoa.
ounces.
How about just tap water?
What city?
Well, Seattle.
I see. Lake Washington or Lake Union?
Washington.
Okay. Anything else?
And a regular coffee for me.
What coffee?
Regular coffee.
We don't have that.
Well, we'll just make some, okay?
We got cappuccino, espresso, latte, you name it.
Just regular coffee.
Well, what's that?
Well, you know, just ground coffee in a can, and you open up the can, you put 4 heaping spoons in a basket, and the water drips through it into a glass pot that sits there for a few hours. You know, right? Regular coffee.
We don't have it.
Well, just look for it, okay? Find somebody else who has it. Come on, use your head, please. All right, now, where were we here? Basil Bristol Bainbridge. Basil Bristol Bainbridge was offed by a cinnamon cyanide sprinkle on an extra strong espresso at Sally Tuttle Tate's contralto Respighi recital rehearsal due to a controversy between the Seattle Gastrointestinal Hospital and the Transcendental Pentecostalist pastor Peter Metropolis of Palo Alto. Is that right?
Yes, and now that's how I see it.
Okay, but how did this Palo Alto Pentecostalist get involved with a Seattle contralto named Sally Tuttle Tate?
Well, Sally Tuttle Tate had been a Pentecostalist in Pistol City, Mississippi, and sang at Pentecostalist services in Pistol City, Tuscaloosa, Biloxi, Baton Rouge, and 67 other southern cities, and was sent to the nonprofit Seattle Gastrointestinal Hospital suffering from extreme digestive stress.
I see. I heard that she ate several suspicious mussels and she got sick and spit up.
That's
but
right.
I may be wrong. Yeah, Noir here.
I found you some regular coffee, but
Oh,
it's
good.
about 13 miles from here at a diner called Mom's. I can send a cab over for it. Costs about $15.
Uh-huh. How much does that other coffee cost?
The triple skinny Siamese pygmy height weight proportional with hazel razzle, 2% on artery block, and hold the bath beads.
No, the hazel razzle, I think.
The hazel razzle.
Hazel razzle.
Oh, that'll
yes,
cost you
right.
$5 then.
$5. Well, all right. Well, give me that one.
Okay, be right over.
Good. So, where were we here? This is interesting. Contralto Sally Tuttle Tate was rehearsing her Respighi recital to benefit the Seattle Gastrointestinal Hospital that saved her from digestive stress after the Pentecostal concert tour of Pistol City, Tuscaloosa, Biloxi, Baton Rouge, and 67 other southern cities. But what I don't understand is why the cinnamon cyanide sprinkle on Basil Bristol Bainbridge's extra strong espresso. I mean, what's the point? Somehow you'd expect a Seattle contralto to be more subtle than to poison her accompanist with a sprinkle of cinnamon.
The Pentecostalist and the gastroenterologist. What a suspicious association.
Suspicious association?
A suspicious association on the face of it?
What is suspicious about that association?
That's about as suspicious an association as I've ever seen.
A suspicious association?
That's what I said. Suspicious association.
Why, you...
Cecilia, say it. Stop.
Hello, ladies.
Why?
Maybe I can solve that riddle for you.
Basil Bristol Bainbridge.
Wrong, Stacy. I'm Basil's twin brother, Biff Stanford Bainbridge.
And I'm not Stacy. I'm Sadie Tuttle Tate, Sally's stepsister.
And you know Cecilia.
I'm Krister's sister, Biff.
Pleased to meet you.
You a pianist too, Biff?
All of us Bristols are pianists. I specialize in Norwegian composers, and in my spare time I raise sorrel riding horses. I'm a man of sorrels and acquainted with Grieg.
I see. So, What's the answer to our problem here, our mystery, our riddle, Biff?
This Respighi recital rehearsal Sally Tuttle Tate held at her rural Seattle studio for the Gastrointestinal Hospital benefit. The recital rehearsal where my brother Basil Bristol Bainbridge got the cyanide cinnamon sprinkle on his extra strong espresso.
Yes.
Where Sandy and Crystal and Cecilia Daniels and her spaniel Emmanuel were in the studio hearing Sally Tuttle Tate sing Respighi, and also Tartini, Manfredini, Houdini, Rossini, Albanini, Paganini, Puccini, Cherubini, Tomasini, Trini Lopez, accompanied by Basil.
Yes?
Basil was not playing piano.
No.
He was playing harp.
Your brother Basil was a harpist as well as a pianist?
Basil Bristol Bainbridge was a man of many talents. He was a harpist, an artist, a harpoonist, a cartoonist, a harmonica player, a trampoline tumbler, a pianist, a dancer, and he had been disco dancing the night before the Respighi recital rehearsal at a Seattle bistro called the Sand Clam, and he lost his instrument.
So you're saying that...
He lost his harp in the Sand Clam disco.
Is that right? So this has nothing to do, in other words, with the Palo Alto Pentecostalists or the nonprofit Seattle Gastrointestinal Hospital. That was all a smokescreen.
This was an affair of the harp. Basil administered the cinnamon cyanide sprinkle himself. Cyanamide, better known as cinnamon cyanide, was his way out.
I see. Yeah, come in. I hope you're from Chuck's Coffee Shop. If you're not, you've got the wrong script.
Now you got me. Got your 2 coffees right here and the water, but we're out of anemones.
Oh, out of anemones, huh?
No, we substitute a plate of these fresh palm fronds flown in from Florida.
Well, with fronds like these, who needs anemones?
Exactly. So it was suicide, then. The cinnamon cyanide sprinkle and Basil Bristol Bainbridge's espresso. Sometimes there's a simple answer to these complicated mysteries, but that's what they pay me for. I'm Guy Noir, Radio Private Eye. Here's looking at you.
A dark night in a city that keeps its secrets. And there on the 12th floor of the Acme building is a guy still trying to find the answers to life's questions. Guy Noir.
I want to bring back the Tudor choir here and tell you a little bit of a story to bring this first part of our show from Seattle to an end. This is a story that begins up in northern Minnesota, where there lived a little band of good Christian people who were known as the Pine Tree Brethren, who were led by a man named Brother Fred, who had carefully read the prophets and believed that as ye suffer on earth, so shall ye reap in heaven. And according to God's plan, he said, they should settle near a rocky swamp in which a tall pine tree grew from hard soil. And in this place, they'd learn to depend on God's beneficence. So there they were. They lived in cold homes made from rocks, and they lived on mushrooms and turtle soup, and they wore brown clothes for humility, and somehow they managed to survive, though it wasn't easy. They held prayer meetings every day at 8 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7 p.m. The happiest time of every day was in the evening when they gathered around a peat fire and sang hymns about heaven and the happiness that would be theirs in the world to come.
The road to glory seems so long, and sorrows often take my song. I'm going to a better land. I'm going to a better land where troubles are unknown. All sorrow will be gone. We'll sing around the throne in sweet accord, adoring Jesus our dear Lord. I know it is not very far to heaven where my treasures are. I'm going to a better land. I'm going to a better land where troubles are unknown. All sorrow will be gone. We'll sing around the throne in sweet accord, adoring Jesus our dear Lord.
When Brother Fred came to the end of his life and lay on his deathbed and called all of the Pine Tree Brethren around him, And he said, after I go to be with the Lord, I pray that all of you will be faithful to the truth as God has shown it to us, and remain here in this cold, barren terrain where we freeze in the winter and we're devoured by deer flies in the summer, and thus we avoid earthly temptations. My successor will be Brother Bud. So farewell. God bless you all. And they took his hands, and they wept, and they sang a hymn about the beautiful land he was going to.
Ye fleeting charms of earth, farewell, your springs of joy are dry. My soul now seeks another home, a brighter world on high. I'm a long time traveling here below, I'm a long time traveling away from home. I'm a long time traveling here below to lay this body down. I'm a long time traveling here below, I'm a long time traveling away from home. I'm a long time traveling here below to lay this body down.
A week after the burial of Brother Fred, Brother Bud announced that the Lord had sent him a dream about a beautiful land that they could live in now, in this life, not after death. He had had this dream after eating some very special mushrooms, and he said they would cut back the prayer meetings to every day at 7 p.m. except Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. He said it was now God's will that they leave this rocky, fly-infested swamp in northern Minnesota and go west to the fertile and balmy coast where fresh salmon and clams could be had in abundance. They would no longer be pine tree brethren. They would be the Olympic brethren. Some of them said, but what about the suffering? Where's the suffering? You move out there, you're going to become comfortable and corrupt and worldly. So the brethren split into the Society of Freds and the Buddists. And the Society of Freds remained in the swamp in Minnesota, still eating their turtle soup and their mushrooms. And the Buddists left for the Olympic Peninsula. And as they journeyed west across the plains, they sang about that beautiful land they were sure lay just ahead, the land they were going to.
So and let this feeble body fail, and let it faint or die. My soul shall quit this mournful vale and soar to worlds on high. And I'll sing hallelujah, and you'll sing hallelujah. And we'll all sing hallelujah when we arrive at home. And I'll sing hallelujah, and you'll sing hallelujah. And we'll all sing hallelujah when we arrive at home.
And when they came over the coastal range of mountains after that long, painful trek over the plains, and when they saw the green fields and the forests of fir and spruce, and they smelled the ocean air, they rejoiced. They rushed down to the shore to a clam restaurant. And though it was 7 p.m., it was time for a prayer meeting, they skipped that and they had dinner. They had clams and oysters and sweet corn, best they'd ever tasted. And some of them had beer. And they tore off their brown clothing, and they bought green and red pants and even yellow pants. And they made T-shirts that said, "Ask me about the New Jerusalem."
From the third heaven where God resides. The New Jerusalem comes down adorned with shining grace. The New Jerusalem comes down adorned with shining grace. Adorned with shining grace. The New Jerusalem comes down adorned with shining grace. The New Jerusalem comes down adorned with shining grace. Adorned with shining grace.
The Buddhists became fishermen and farmers, and they prospered on the coast. They built fine houses of spruce and fir, much more comfortable than the old rock huts they had in Minnesota. There were no deer flies, there was no winter, not really. Well, it rained a little bit, but that only improved their complexions and their hair. In fact, the Buddhists became so good looking that some of them went into show business. They weren't sure it was the right thing, but they put out a CD of hymns called The Better Land. And it was a great hit. It was sold in New Age gift shops. It had a beautiful cover of the Pacific Coast and fog and hemlocks, and it went platinum.
I'm going to a better land. I'm going to a better land where troubles are unknown. All sorrow will be gone. We'll sing on corn, we'll sing on. We'll gather round and gape across the Puget Sound. I'm going to a better land. I'm going to a better land where troubles are unknown. All sorrow will be gone. It's sweet on corn, we'll gather round and gape across the Puget Sound.
Some of the Buddhists wanted to split up the royalties from sales of the Better Land and use the money for their personal needs, and others wanted to use the money for the common good, and there was a big fight over this. And the royalties group won out over the commoners, and now some of the Buddhists had very beautiful homes with swimming pools and beautiful lawns and tennis courts, and drove expensive cars and wore imported suits and carried cellular phones, and even in the middle of prayer meeting, which now there was just only one of each week, Sunday at 7, lasted about 10 minutes. During prayer meeting, there'd be a little beeping sound, and somebody'd run outdoors and open up the cellular phone and talk to their stockbroker. And then a sequel to The Better Land came out called Happy Land, which was made into a video. It was shot in the fog, and it had a drum solo in the middle of it, which was the idea of their producer from New York, a producer named Vince.
There is a happy land far, far away, where saints in glory stand, bright, bright as day. Oh, how to sweetly sing, worthy is our Savior King. Loud let his praises ring, praise, praise, parade. Come to the happy land, come, come away. Why will you doubting stand, why yet delay? Oh, we shall happy be. When from sin and sorrow free, Lord, we shall live with thee. Blessed, blessed parade. Pride in that happy land beams every eye. Kept by a Father's hand, love cannot die. Then shall his kingdom come, saints shall share a glorious home, and bright above the sun will reign for aye.
The brethren had never used drums before in their singing, but this album sold even more copies, and now people were writing magazine articles about their music, referring to it as the Puget Sound. And under the strain of success and wealth and fame, the Buddhists, of course, inevitably broke up. Some of them stayed here, some of them toured with the Voices of Bud Choir, and some of them went back to the Society of Freds, which still lives in northern Minnesota. A tiny group, about 11 people, enduring the winters, the deer flies, the bad food, still believing that someday all of us can be reunited in a happy land.
From all that dwell below the skies, let the Creator's praise arise. Let the Redeemer's name be sung through every land, by every tongue. Eternal are thy mercies, Lord, eternal to the times thy word thy praise. Thy praise shall sound from shore to shore, till sun shall rise and set no more. Till sun shall rise and set no more. Eternal are thy mercies, Lord, eternal to the times thy word thy praise. Thy praise shall sound from shore to shore, till sun shall rise and set no more. Till sun shall rise and set no more.
The Tudor Choir, Doug Fullington, thank you. We're going to pause and take a brief intermission now and be back with the second half of our broadcast with Kelly Joe Phelps, the Hopeful Gospel Quartet, and the Guys All-Star Shoe Band, and the news from Lake Wobegon, Minnesota. You're listening to a Prairie Home Companion coming to you from the Chateau Saint Michel Winery in Seattle, Washington.
This Prairie Home Companion program was first broadcast June 28, 1997, from Chateau Saint Michel Winery Amphitheater in Woodinville, Washington. A Prairie Home Companion is brought to your family by the friendly people at Land's End, who always love to hear from you at 1-800-LANDS END or on the web at www.landsend.com. While you're online, you can visit the Prairie Home Companion website at phc.mpr.org. You can hear audio clips from the show, find out much more about all of our guests, tell us exactly what you think of the show, phc.mpr.org. Or you can write to us if you'd like at 45 East 7th Street, St. Paul, Minnesota 55101. The Prairie Home Companion Summer Catalog is available right now if you call in 1-800-967-4001. It'll tell you all about the 25th anniversary audio collection, all 4 volumes of the Pretty Good Joke Books, and Me by Jimmy Big Boy Valente. The number is 1-800-967-4001. This is PRI, Public Radio International.
Welcome back now to this broadcast of A Prairie Home Companion, coming to you on a green hillside in Seattle, Washington, at the Chateau Saint Michel Winery. This portion of our show is brought to you by Microsoft Records. Brand new album just out from Microsoft. It's Bill Gates and the Gatekeepers and Mr. Gates's debut country album.
They call me a nerd at Microsoft Word, but I'm a hard-driving man. I'm a hard-driving man.
Yes, the richest man in America reveals a soul you never guessed he had, and it's pure country.
If you don't remember all of you need more ram, honey, lamb.
Behind that geeky exterior and those pudgy cheeks and the glasses, a man who's all man, who's been around love's sharp corners before, who's felt the hurt, felt the longing.
As I sit at the screen tonight, I wish that our program would start. I'm looking for email from my favorite female. I'm looking for the window to your heart.
Bill Gates and the Gatekeepers, Windows to Your Heart. Available from Microsoft Records for only $479.95.
I'm looking for the windows to your heart.
Here's a note from Rod and Judy in Woodinville. Hello to Bruce and Linda in Tucson. When the ice breaks on the Santa Cruz River, come visit us up here. Hello to Lee and Will in Hawaii. From Al and Rosie in Seattle. Happy 81st birthday. See you soon. Check your email. Happy birthday to Kathy Norgard. Happy birthday, Kathy. Happy 50th anniversary to Raymond and Eva May Gabeline on Whidbey Island from Rob and Sandy. Happy 6th anniversary to my lovely wife, Ava. I never expected being married to a German woman could be so much fun. Happy 11th birthday to Ty. Hello to Cindy, Marge, and Ursula in Minneapolis. See you at noon next Sunday at the Ranger Station in Glacier. Don't forget the chocolate chip cookies, say Carol and Shelley. A note from Doug. To my dearest Tamara, I'm sorry I've taken so long to ask this question, but I've finally come to my senses. Will you marry me? Greetings to Lieutenant Jason Alley aboard the USS Frederick in Thailand from Eric and Katie. Hope the good ship brings you home safe. Hello to George and Virginia in Florida. It does rain up here, but we've been driving around with the top down anyway. Thanks for letting us use your car. Peg and Richard say hello to Mom and Dad. See you on the 4th. Looking forward to the rhubarb pie. Ginny in Tacoma says hello to Ann and Celeste in Gibsonia, Pennsylvania. Best wishes, Celeste, as you recover from surgery. My thoughts are with you. Mom and Dad send love to Leslie and Brian. The loan for $1,000 has been approved. Hello from the West Coast kids, Bev, Sherry, Jackie, and Stephanie, to all of their cousins in Iowa. Thanks for being the ones who stayed there. Kai and Elsa send greetings. Hilson to Curtis and Ava in Eagan, Minnesota. Wendy, if you're not doing anything on December 13th, what do you say we get married? Says Eric. My, it's a romantic crowd here. Stephen says hello to Marilyn and Richie. Sorry I'm not there to pick you up at the airport. Take a cab. The key is under the mat. Happy birthday to my precious Bonnie from Scott. I love you dearly. Will you marry me? Goodness. People here have just one thing on their minds. To Bob from DG, happy 1st anniversary. Roger and Jane in Madison, Wisconsin, hello from your son in Seattle. Hope you can visit this summer. The nose ring is not so unsettling now that it's not cold and flu season. Eric and Olga say tack for sist to Bill and Dorda in Boston. We have sunshine here in June. Hello to Pat from Kelly. Thanks for 10 very good years. Happy anniversary. Happy 25th anniversary, Dave and Annette. Happy 50th, Donovan and Francis in El Cerrito, California. Doug sends his love to Jackie Eve. Thank you for the past 2 years. February 3rd will always be ours. Happy anniversary to Joan and Ron. Congratulations to Rose and Clarence Beats on their 60th wedding anniversary today. They grew up in North Dakota, flew up here from Sacramento, California, just to be here today with their children and their grandchildren. Happy 30th anniversary, Janet and Mike, who've been best friends since the 4th grade. We should do a song here, Hopeful Gospel Quartet.
Sure.
For all of these anniversaries and people who want to get married.
Take one fresh and tender kiss, had one stolen night of bliss. One girl, one boy, some grief, some joy. Memories are made of this. And don't forget a small moonbeam. Hold it lightly with a dream. Your lips and mine to sip the wine. Memories are made of this. Then at the wedding bells, one house where lovers dwell. 3 little kids for the flavor. Stir carefully through the day. See how the flavor stays. These are the dreams we will savor. With his blessings from above, serve it generously with love. One man, one wife, one love for life. Memories are made of this. Memories are made of this. Memories are made of this.
It's a sweet old tune. It's a sweet old tune. I'm amazed that people as young as yourselves would even remember that. You do, really?
Sure.
You're just a little kid, though.
Well, not really.
That was in
Thank you, though, for saying
that. Was in my time. I remember listening to that song in the company of young women and having inappropriate thoughts, but want to bring up our friends from, these people are from the South, folks. These people are from down where people speak in a musical way, and where storytelling is the highest art because there's so much to tell down there. People lead lives of Gothic complexity, even in the sunny Shenandoah Valley of Virginia.
Oh, Virginia, they do, it is.
How's your garden doing?
Garden is doing very well. We had to water last week, got a little hot, but things are coming along. The weeding, is the most important part now, and we're on it. We're on the weeding.
When would be the best time for me to visit to avoid that and just arrive in time for the tomatoes?
Come in late July and early August then,
Okay,
and then you
good.
miss a lot of that heavy work and can reap the benefits.
Very good. You want to use my slide guitarist?
I would love to
Kelly
use
Joe Phelps? Good.
your
Robin and Linda
Kelly Jo.
Williams here.
I'll sing you a new song, a song we wrote when the Hale-Bopp comet was still up in the air and we could see him at night. And it was back in early April and things were just starting to green up and we were getting excited about summertime and put all that together in a song called Green Summertime. traveler in the sky. But my dreams do not take wings, for I'm captive to familiar things in this world of mine. In the green summertime, on a gravel country road, by the bed of the old railroad, the dust follows turning wheels and blows away across the fields in this world of mine. In the green summertime, and though I know them all too well, and I have heard all they have to tell, my steps will always walk this ground. To these old friends I am bound. On the streets of my little town, the moonlight comes streaming down. The dead wait in their graves for the Lord their souls to save in this world of mine. In the green summertime. Right there, Tracy. Far off in the by and by, I see a traveler in the sky. But my dreams do not take wings, for I'm captive to familiar things in this world of mine. In the green summertime, in the green summertime.
Robin and Linda Williams. Robin and Linda Williams and Kelly Joe Phelps. Well, it's been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon, my hometown. It's been beautiful there. It's been sunny and green. It's gotten up into the 90s. Gardens are lush and beautiful, and the corn is coming up so magnificently. So all the farmers have been hanging out in the Chatterbox Cafe every morning this week to sit there and drink coffee and tell lies to each other about their corn yields last year and how little they paid for their pickups, and talk about the Lake Wobegon Whippets season. The Whippets are 0-4 on the season. They have a doubleheader coming up this weekend against Holdingford. Boys have not really lost hope. They feel that if they just, get the hitting together and clear up some of the defensive mistakes and get a little bit of pitching. Ernie, the knuckleballer, has still recovering from the pop fly that hit him on the shoulder and hasn't been able to get into his full windup because his pants have been too tight, and the new pants are on order. They should be here this next week, and I'm sure that when they come that things will change. There was a fire out at Roger Headland's
barn this last week was the big item of news. The hay caught on fire, and the volunteer fire department had to get out there. They managed to pull the burning hay out of the barn and mostly save it. It had been baled while it was still moist was the problem. Moist hay gets hotter than dry hay, which was possible to do because with these new balers now, it's possible for one person to do an entire field in almost no time. So that the tendency is for a person not to stop and check their work. And so you'd collect all of this damp hay and bale it and put it up. And in the end, efficiency brings you down. It's sort of like computers in a way, that they make it possible for one person to commit ever so many more errors in an amazing short period of time and to compound them and to pass them on to other people. Which you know if you have ever traveled on an airline. You go up to the ticket counter and you have there your ticket issued by your travel agent already with a boarding pass in it. And yet you hand it over, and it takes hundreds of keystrokes for this process to take place, for them just to let you on a plane. Hundreds of keystrokes and complicated programs come into play. And there's a great pursing of the lips and staring at a screen, and other agents are brought in for conferences and so forth. A task that a man with a little green brim and a number 2 pencil and a file drawer could probably take care of in a short period of time, as if the travel agent using this computer is now faced with a serious physics problem they have to work out, as if the addition of one more passenger to the plane affects the laws of aerodynamics, so that it all has to be reconfigured. Well, Roger stood around with the volunteer firemen as they watched the hay burn, and they were grateful they'd saved his barn. And he said, I'm just grateful that my wife and daughters are not here, and that it's possible once in a while to make a mistake in private. Knowing, of course, that in Lake Wobegon, the news of this is out to everybody within hours. Everybody who is not actually on a life support system will hear about this fire within a matter of hours. But what he really meant was that he was grateful his daughter Martha, who's the judgmental one in the family, was not there. She still has this sort of eye-rolling tendency of adolescence, though she's almost 30. Regards her parents as a kind of moral example of how not to live, an illustration of the danger of ingesting too many animal fats. But in Lake Wobegon, you see, there's much more mercy for somebody who does something as dumb as what Roger did. Because you know that tomorrow it may be your turn. So if you hear somebody tell about how they ran over their antique clock in the driveway because they came out to the car and they set the clock down to put it in the trunk and looked for their keys, and then noticed that the keys were in the ignition because the motor was running, so they got in the car and they backed up. You hear this story and you chuckle at this story, but you don't laugh too hard. Because you know that in the great human comedy, one day we're spectators and the next day we're performers. And that the next day it may be your turn to do something even dumber, to get up in the middle of the night to let the cat out the back door and be irritated by the fact that somebody has left a sawhorse there at the back door, and you're too sleepy and too irritated to remember that your brother-in-law left it there as a reminder not to open that back door because he just poured the new concrete into the footings for the back steps. So you grab up this sawhorse and you throw this back door open and you hurl this thing out into the night, and then you step down the back steps. You go way down into
into the back steps. You stand there as the cat leaps lightly down past you, and then it is your turn, you see, to be an amusement for other people. No, Martha, she left and she moved out to the West Coast, and she's lived everywhere between Santa Monica and Seattle and Stinson Beach and Eugene, Oregon, every place in between, with a whole series of boyfriends. She's lived out here, and finally her family has come to realize that the search for identity is really the only stable thing in her life. She's going through a long process that will probably continue until she has Alzheimer's and forgets what it was she was looking for. She's hooked up with a whole series of young men who are trying to find self-fulfillment and find out who they are. A whole series of innovators, these young men, a term which covers a variety of sins. She hooked up with a young English major, and the two of them decided that they would become sheep herders in the hills of Oregon, and so they set out to live a life of filth and poverty like medieval serfs, making animals miserable whom they had no idea how to herd or care for. And they went on from there. She went on and she met a young man named Trevor who convinced her that she had untapped creative potential, and they formed a singing group called the New Coastal Range Singers, and they adopted a new mode of music called the sliding scale, which some people would refer to as a very poor sense of pitch, but according to him, it was something that came from the Mahano Indians of the rainforests of Ecuador. And so they would come out onto a stage in front of whoever was willing to sit and watch them. And they would wear long white tunics, and starting from opposite sides of the stage, they would move towards each other, making long, deep tones, which were supposed to change as they approached each other, one high, one low, which is the sort of thing that makes some people lean forward and close their eyes and press the tips of their fingers to their foreheads and think deep thoughts, and makes the rest of us crouch down and scurry up the aisle towards the exit. They did this for a while until they got bored with it, and then she met somebody named Natalie, and they decided that they were going to become aromatherapists, and that the center of the balance of the body's energies are centered in the nose, and that the negativity in the body is created by toxins that remain on the nose hairs, so that one should mist every day, several times, and one should blow gently while lying on a couch with your head straight down. She did several albums of nose music, of humming, New Age albums with pictures of trees and mists on the cover, and the sort of albums that carry pages and pages of thank yous and acknowledgments, and that print the lyrics and really should not. They're not the sort of lyrics that look good in print. They don't read well. I am of you and you are of me. We are together, we are process. It doesn't read well. But they did this, and then she came up to Washington with a boy named Max, and they found about 80 acres of old vineyard out near Pullman, Washington. It hadn't produced grapes for years, but they, what do fools have but hope? And they went out there. And they lived in an Airstream trailer with about 16 dogs, and they lived on food stamps and loans from their parents. This was a vineyard that was owned by a winery that preceded the Chateau Saint Michel, back in the age of screw-top wines in Washington State. Wines that were not meant to be eaten with dinner, but that were dinner, Wines that come in a bottle of a particular shape so that it will not fall out of your pocket when you roll over when you're asleep. They moved into this place, and they decided that they would make handmade wines, actually foot-made wines. These would be made of grapes that were pressed out by young people
who had been holistically repatterned so that the soles of their feet were less yin. So they worked at this for about 3 years. They produced in their 3rd year about 5 cases of wine at a cost of about $150 a bottle. Wine that tasted like a particularly brutal form of chemotherapy. This is the daughter who writes letters back to her parents and who says, "Have you ever considered moving out here? I know you'd love it. You'd love it as much as Max and I love it. If you just come out here and give it a chance, I know that you would love living out here." Well, I don't know. I go back to Lake Wobegon. I went back the other day. And it was a beautiful summer day. It was like today. You'd smell the grass and smell the trees. The air was quiet, still. Dogs were lying under the porch, scooched in under the cool dirt, and an American flag hung down from a porch. You sit on a rocking chair and you drink a cool green nectar. And it's almost idyllic. And then you have wonderful thoughts of January. You have wonderful thoughts of those beautiful days when it got down to 30 below. When your body felt quickened, you felt so vital, so alive. You walked outside and your face hurt. Your lungs hurt when you walked out. You felt this sense of purpose. You know, during June, people search for self-fulfillment. But in January, you've got all the self-fulfillment you can handle. I miss January. I can't wait for it to come back. To wear a down coat, to have that sense of life challenged, of animal life. You see, I'm older than you are. And I go back to the very end of that age of the wood stove and the copper boiler on the kitchen floor where people took their baths on Saturday night. I go back to the very end of that era, the era of the outhouse. And so those winter nights have particular poignance for me. We'd go up and visit our grandmother, and there'd be a whole bunch of children. It takes a long time to boil water for baths. And it can't be done any faster than as fast as it can be done. So there's long waiting in between baths. A bath can only be used by 3 people. And if there are 12 people, that's just going to take you that long to boil your water. So whoever's taking the bath is in the kitchen. You're in front of the wood stove. The flames are crackling in there and the smell of wood burning. And you're not doing this for recreation. You're doing it of necessity. It's in those times when you're waiting for the water to boil, you see, that stories are told. When there's nothing else to do. When the others are sitting in the parlor and they're waiting as the person bathing takes a dip and you soap up and you dip again and you get out and you dry quickly, but nonetheless, it takes time. That's when people tell stories. My uncle had only a few stories, and we never tired of hearing them. We heard them over and over and over again. There was the story of when he was a boy and was awakened by his father, and all of the children got up and put on their warm clothes, and they walked out through the yard in January, and out along the frozen drifts, and across the pasture, and down the wood line, over the next ridge, and they stopped. And there, 100 yards ahead of them, in the moonlight, on a snowbank, sat a silver wolf who looked at them. They never forgot that. There was the story of my great-grandfather who was walking home from the neighbors one winter night, and as he walked along the road, he felt himself joined by strangers in the dark. There was a whole crowd of people around him, and it was a friendly crowd, and they talked, and they talked, and as they walked along towards his house, and as he came towards the lighted door of his house, they gradually disappeared, so that he never ever saw who they were. There was the story about the day that my uncle stayed home from school in the winter, and he was upstairs, and he heard my grandmother cry out, and he ran downstairs, and there were flames coming out from the wall of the living room above the wood stove. He got a kettle of water, and he threw it against the wall. He tried to put out the fire, and he could not. My grandmother ran and got blankets. She got things out of the desk drawers. She got albums of photographs. She got books and Bibles. She carried them out into the snow, and she left them until the flames burst through the roof of the house, and she was going to go in one last time to get the money out of the desk. And he put his arms around her, and he would not let her go. We heard these stories over and over again. I must have heard them every other week when I was a child, and always in the dark, and always when it was cold. After we took our baths, we went up to bed, and I would sometimes go up to my uncle's bedroom, where his crystal radio receiver sat on the table by his bed. The antenna was strung out through the window, out to a maple tree. He only had the one set of headphones, and so I would sit on his lap so that we could both get our heads inside one pair and listen to dance bands playing in New York and Chicago, and listen to comedians tell stories, and people laugh. We didn't understand why, but we figured they must have a reason. I sat on his knee with my head against his cheek and one half of a headphone against my ear. I could feel his whiskers against my cheek, and I could smell his hair oil. And now I travel off to all of these strange places that I heard radio shows from when I was a kid. And now in New York and Chicago and Seattle and all the places I go, I put my hand up to my ear and I try to hear my uncle and hear how that house sounded so many years ago on a winter night in Minnesota. All the times I've gotten to choose in my life, I've made so many mistakes, but I never made a mistake when it came to choosing my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. That's the news from Lake Wobegon. Where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average.
Thank you, Kelly Joe Phelps. You stay right there now. We want you to play a little slide guitar on a tune that Robin and Linda and Kate and I like to do, called Calling My Children.
Those lives were mine to love and cherish, to guard and guide along life's way. Oh, God forbid that one should perish, that one at last should go astray.
I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling, calling, and come back home someday.
I give my all for my dear children. Their problems still with love I share.
I'd brave life's storms, defy the tempest, to bring them home from anywhere. I live my life, my love I gave them, to guide them through this world of strife. I hope and pray we live together in that great glad hereafter life.
I'm lonesome for my precious children.
They live so far away.
Oh, may they hear
my calling, calling, and come back home someday.
You come home, you children. Oh, that Kelly Joe Phelps. Isn't that a beautiful slide guitar? Isn't that amazing? Well, if I could have sung with him, I tell you, I would have been a great singer. Or would have thought I was, anyway. Do a little tune there with that banjo there. And the Powdermilk Biscuits segment of our show, that's what this is right here. Yes.
Come, brothers and sisters, and don't be false asleep, but pray night and day, or you'll sink in the steep. Our fathers and mothers are crying so loud. Oh Lord, won't you take this in your life, oh? Take me in your life, oh. Take me in your life, oh. Together we'll
And this portion of our show also brought to you by the Cafe Boeuf. Yes, the dim little place where the elite meet to eat.
Bonsoir, Café Boeuf Seattle. This is Maurice speaking. Je te Coslette à Kerry. How may I help you?
Maurice, it's Carson Weiler here. I'd kind of like to make a reservation for two for dinner tonight at 7 in back, okay?
Weiler. Yes, I remember you last time, the rather large man with the toupee.
What?
How many in your party, Mr. Weiler?
2 for dinner, and I don't have a toupee, thank you.
You don't?
No, this is my own hair.
How amazing. How sad your hair.
And I'm not that large. I'm large-boned, that's all.
As you wish, monsieur.
Yes.
When in August did you wish to make the reservation?
Not in August. This will be now, tonight.
Tonight? Oh,
Yes, we're
I'm
coming
sorry.
direct from the winery.
I'm sorry, monsieur, not tonight.
It's very important.
What is important, monsieur?
I need to get a table tonight at 7, okay?
But what is the nature of the importance? What makes it important? What's
you're
the
so French.
cause of importance, monsieur? Does self-interest give importance to a need, or is there a universal good that transcends self-interest?
I don't know. I'm just hungry,
You don't know? If you don't know, how am I supposed to know,
I
monsieur?
just don't know, okay?
I'm trying to find some rational basis for giving you a table.
I
that's all.
appreciate that. I appreciate
To
that.
give you the table means not giving it to someone else,
Yes,
you see?
I understand that.
Should I not make a choice between you and the others who may wish the table?
Of course.
But I do not yet know who they are. You understand?
Okay, now if I'm reading you correctly, that means the table is free, yes?
Free? In this case, what is freedom, monsieur? Freedom to choose, yes, but what on basis?
How about on the basis of my giving you $20? How's that?
$20, you Americans are so direct. And yet, what is the meaning of $20,
Okay,
monsieur?
how about $25?
25, I understand better,
That's
yes.
good. How about $30? Would that clarify it?
Now I see, of course.
Yes.
How silly of me. What time tomorrow did you say?
$40.
Tonight then?
Yes, tonight.
Excellent. 7 o'clock?
Thank you.
Quite welcome.
And this is in back, right?
Relative to what?
Oh, never mind.
Front, back? It depends on which way you're facing, monsieur.
Of course. The Cafe Boeuf, you may have to work at it. You can get in eventually. We had a good time with you outdoors here in Seattle, Washington. Here in this beautiful, beautiful spot out on the grass. It did not rain, after all. The clouds were only scenery, that's all. I want to thank Rich Dworsky at the piano, the Guys All-Star Shoe Band, Tracy Silverman, Pat Donahue, Greg Hippen, and Arnie Kinsella. Thank our researcher, Michael Hood, and our staff, Joyce Besh, Kay Gornick, Kate Gustafson, Rob Knowles, Kathy Mack, Katie Reckdahl, Russ Ringsack, and Patricia McFadden. Thanks to our volunteers this season, Marguerite Harvey and Meredith Popoli. Our technical crew, Jeff Johnson, Jason Keeler, Sam Hudson, Alan Freckman, and Brian Killian. And remind you that a Prairie Home Companion is made possible tonight by Land's End Direct Merchants, where your order is filled in one day, delivered almost anywhere just 2 business days later. Our actors, Peggy O'Connell, Sue Scott, and Tim Russell. Our sound effects man, Mr. Tom Keith. The show tonight, written by Natalie Dress, by Guy Wire, by Emmanuel Transmission and Norman Conquest and Sarah Bellum. Thanks to all of our guests, the Hopeful Gospel Quartet, Robin and Linda Williams, and Kate McKenzie. Thanks to the Tudor Choir and Doug Fullerton, its director, and Mr. Kelly Joe Phelps. That's our show, folks. Thank you and good night. Thank you, everybody. Good night, and thanks to station KUOW for bringing us here tonight.
I, Public Radio International.